What is an NFT and what kind of impact do you think NFTs will have on the industry?
An NFT, it stands for non-fungible token, and it's a token that means something that you can mint, buy, sell, trade, hold, that represents something unique in the real world. Like it could be even a physical object or a work of art. The use case we're seeing for NFTs today is mostly around collectibles. And that's certainly a big and important use case, and I don't want to take away from it. But I think that there are a lot of potential future use cases. A lot of us have sort of bundles of digital rights, like movies or songs that we purchased, books that you may have for a Kindle. And they're typically tied to services that have monthly fees or that we may want to leave. And so there's an interesting future use case of allowing people to sort of be their own custodians of their digital rights.
So you've mentioned prior that not every blockchain can support NFTs. What do you mean by that?
When you want to trade with an NFT, or you want to create an NFT, you have issues involving things like transaction costs, transaction speed, and also just whether the blockchain has the capability to provide special functions like giving a cut of future sales to the originator of the NFT. But I think the big one is just the reliability, particularly transaction fees. Like just to give an example, Ethereum has shown wide variability in its transaction fees, sometimes being very high, sometimes being very low. It's not a good customer experience if sometimes it's very difficult to trade an NFT and sometimes it's very easy to.
David, how is the XRP Ledger uniquely suited to enable NFT use?
I think it has a number of features that make it very, very desirable for NFTs. For one thing, it has the low cost and high speed that many sort of special purpose ledgers have, ledgers that are built just for NFTs. But it also has XRP, which is a digital asset that has great liquidity directly available on the ledger. So you don't have to go to some other ledger to make the payment. The combination of really good payments with all the features necessary to support an NFT infrastructure, I think is unique.
What kind of work is being done on the XRP Ledger to make it an even better platform for NFTs?
Yeah, there was a proposal that I authored that we've gotten feedback from the community on that makes more features for NFTs. And in particular, it makes it easier to produce large numbers of NFTs and makes them more scalable. I think we don't know what the level of NFT usage is going to be, but there are definitely like artists who've talked about like throwing NFTs out to the crowd at a concert. And if you want to scale to that level, it can't cost $100 to mint an NFT, or it can't take a minute. You need that level of scalability.
Let's shift gears slightly. You've recently authored a blog proposal on federated sidechains as a new proposal for the XRP Ledger. Could you kind of explain what a federated sidechain is, and really how is that going to benefit the XRP Ledger?
A federated sidechain is a blockchain that operates sort of alongside another blockchain. So it has its own accounts, it can have its own transactions, it has its own transaction fee structure, and so it can have different rules from the main ledger. And the idea would be that you could move assets from the main chain to the federated sidechain, transact those assets on the federated sidechain, and then at some point sort of mirror those results back to the main chain.
What kind of impact and sort of improvement would that have for the XRP Ledger as a whole?
I think there are three big areas where it makes a difference. So one of them is just horizontal scalability. The XRP Ledger can handle well over 1,000 transactions per second, but that's a finite limit. And if you're imagining future use cases, millions of NFTs or something, you can exceed that limit because each federated sidechain has its own transaction volume. Another one is just the use cases. Like there's little to no support for DeFi on the XRP Ledger. You could have a sidechain to the XRP Ledger, which you could have the same assets and you would have access to DeFi functions. And the last one is if some of the limitations of the XRP Ledger are affecting you. So the XRP Ledger has an account reserve, which means it costs a certain amount of money that you have to have available to create an account. A sidechain could have a different reserve or no reserve. So it allows you to work around limitations that might affect particular use cases.
One of the more popular proposals on the XRP Ledger is hooks. That would enable smart contracts on the XRP Ledger. How could federated sidechains interact with hooks?
The federated sidechain feature will be tremendously useful for developers who are developing features like hooks that they want as candidates for inclusion in the main chain. Today, without federated sidechains, when you develop a new feature, it's very hard to make the case that it should be included in the main chain. You can't prove that it's reliable and secure. You can't have it handle real money. You can only run it under test circumstances. With federated sidechains, you can run a federated sidechain that has hooks, and it can handle real money and people can use it. And not only have you deployed it in the real world immediately, but now when you make the case that it should be included in the main chain, you can prove that it works. You can demonstrate that it doesn't cause servers to crash or cause other problems. You can demonstrate that it's secure in a real working environment much, much faster.
In terms of application, how soon could we see federated sidechains on the XRP Ledger?
Ripple's been focusing on private federated sidechains for central banks a lot because we think that's one of the most obvious immediate use cases. I think you'll probably see those in a couple of months, whether or not central banks will actually use them, but the technology will be there. And then I think seeing real centralized federated sidechains to provide features like DeFi is probably more like 6 to 9 months away.